Hi, good morning, everybody. It is I. It is your host, Lee Bailey, and I am here today with a wonderful young lady. She does a show called Going Gainesville, which you can watch. We'll find out all the details as far as how you can watch her program. And she's a real estate agent from the Gainesville area, and she talks about self-improvement as well. Anyway, without further ado, let me introduce you to Lesley Salmon, and we welcome her into our little program. Hello, Lesley. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing, in the words of Zig Ziglar, I'm doing better than good.
That's right. I love Zig Ziglar. I had the opportunity to see him speak one time at one
I
of
would
his
love
big.
to see him speak.
He was amazing, and it
Where
was
was
being a
it?
good. It was in Arlington,
Okay,
um,
cool.
and it was called the show that he did was called The Good Finder, and it was all about. I mean, I can go into it. It made such an impression on me. I talk about and speak to people. I work with youth, so I speak to them, and I'm sure I use tons of stuff that I picked up just from the way he was talking about stuff, how you need to recognize the good in everything, and
Yes.
then promote it and emphasize it.
Yep.
So yeah, and that's cool. And I think you're kind of doing that now, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. I actually, speaking of one thing I just implemented is a lot of the stuff that I've implemented, I feel like people are going to think I sound like really crazy, but I don't care. It's fun. I started thanking everything. I get up and I thank my bed for a good night's sleep. So, and just doing that,
Well,
it puts me in an
that's a
attitude of
little weird.
gratitude. It is. It
As
is. I
long as
don't
the
care
bed
though.
doesn't talk back to you, you're in good shape.
Hey, whatever it takes to put me in the attitude of gratitude for the day, you know?
That's right.
So,
Yeah, like I said, as long as the bed talk back to you, you're in great shape. If they start talking back to you, then you go, "Oh, need to
yeah.
see somebody about this." No, that's cool. I like that idea. It's really interesting. I wake up. It's more of a spiritual sense for me. I mean, I wake up in the morning, and that's when I start my daily prayer, and I end it when I go to bed at night.
Yep.
And I try and keep that going throughout the day, where I just constantly have with myself and in a prayerful mindset or meditative mindset. I keep going through affirmations, and I try to do that. I mean, because there's so much negativity in the world. That's one of the reasons why MoreJoy was founded,
I
was to
love
bring
it.
more joy to the world. And because I just got completely finally done with the negativity. And so also
Yeah.
another reason why we don't discuss politics on this show is because
Well,
there's nothing positive about it. I mean,
no, there's not.
so that's why we do that.
Well, it's, one thing that and speaking of you saying, talking about, starting with spirituality or prayer or whatever, like I recently, I'd been, reading about like, okay, set your intention for the day, so I was doing that. And,
Yeah.
here's what I find so interesting about that is I was doing that, and I'd say something like, I want to be a more loving person today. And then the end of the day would come and go, and I'd be like, well, that didn't work. Nothing changed.
That's
And then
because you already are a loving person.
well, no, I realized that I wasn't putting a strategy in place behind the intention.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, which, I mean, hey, that's the most important step. And I feel like people don't tell you that part. I know that sounds dumb, but I think like people that understand a lot of this stuff, they don't realize you got to explain that part too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
once I was like, okay, well, how would I put what would I do to become then I started going, well, what would I do to become a more loving person? I thought, well, God's loving. Let me start.
With
Jesus
him.
is loving. I mean, it doesn't matter if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
Christian. Gandhi's
No, no,
loving.
no, no, no.
Buddha's
Sure.
loving. Yeah, I started studying all these people and going, what characteristics do they have? Okay, let me try to
Yep.
make all my choices throughout the day using their examples. Duh, that's what religion teaches. But like when you really see it that way,
Yeah.
it's so different. It changes your life from no means from like, hey, I'm just living my life, going about every day, nothing's different, to I wake up out of bed, I'm like, who am I gonna be today?
That sounds like, we talked off air before we started to talk, and Zig Ziglar that was his emphasis, was have a plan in place.
Yep.
He said, he used to say that this is one of the things that killed me when he said this, but he used to wake up in the morning about an hour ahead of having to do things. And he was a prayerful man too, but he would start to read. And so he would read every morning he would read. And he got to the point where he started, because of the practice. We practice love, we practice caring, these things. But because of the practicing to read, he got to the point, he said it took him about 3 days to read a book. 3 days to read a book. And then it got to 2 days to read a book. And then it got to 1 day to read a book. Because, he just got faster at picking up on and knowing how to read and picking up. He reads 4 books a day. And he was reading 4 books a day. Yeah, because it just, you watch people that just flip the pages, and because they can focus on it. And I was like, of course, he also increased his time, he said. When he realized that he was really getting so much from reading all these other authors and people with ideas and strategies, as you said, he just started getting into it, and he increased his morning reading time. And so he could read 3 or 4 books a day.
And it's so fun, because I do, like, what I'll do too is, like you said, it's practicing. So I'll read something and I'll be like, I'm gonna try that today. I'm like, I want to help this, like, see if this works. And I'll be like, whenever I talk to this person today, they're going to be my guinea pig. And they're not even going to know it. And I'm going to practice this stuff on them. And it's just so fun, because then you're like, and then what doesn't work, you don't do it anymore. And what works, you just keep doing it. And it's,
that's right.
Like,
exactly.
And it went from me being a lot of this stuff too. It really helped me become crystal clear on my values in life. And I realized I started remembering so many things about myself. And this is what they say is, like, go back to your childhood and think of, like, what did you used to love when you were a kid? And, like, through this process, it made me really realize I loved magic. I loved solving mysteries. I loved rituals. I loved learning. And so I started, but then sometimes you're like, oh, well, how am I going to have a magical real estate practice? I mean, how am I going to quit my job? So, like, have a midlife crisis and just change everything. And I'm like, no, it's so easy. It's not about that. It's about, now I can view my life through that lens.
Right.
And I'm just looking for those things as I live my life anyways. Yeah. I don't have to change anything at all about my job or.
No, but it's fun to change things, change your daily routine on a regular basis, like if you're one morning, you're getting up every morning, you're making your own breakfast. Okay. That's great. And that's wonderful. You try different things. Maybe that's one first change, is to try different breakfasts that you can prepare. And then maybe you'll once a week go get a scone and a coffee at the local, support the local place that's near you, and go get a scone and a coffee. And that's good for you for the breakfast. That's good for your breakfast that day. Or, there's just so many different things to inspire yourself, and take a book with you. Read a book while you read your scone and drink your tea, or you drink your coffee, or whatever it is. I'm a Coke Zero man, so I have my Coke Zero in my big cup, but a scone, that sounds good. I might have to go have a scone.
Yeah. Well, you know what I started doing too? I actually, by accident, started, I've implemented once a month now, I'm doing a 24-hour fast. And the reason for that is I realized, I realized when I did a juice cleanse, like a detox at the beginning of the year. And I was like, I want to see, I just want to get on organic food. I was like, I want to see what the human body's capable of when it's functioning at mass capacity.
Right.
But what I really ended up learning from that was the one night I was laying in bed, I was so hungry. I talked myself into allowing myself to eat a melatonin gummy. That's how hungry I was. I was like, I feel like I could have this. And when I put it in my mouth, I was like, I'm going to
spit it out.
No, I was like, I'm going to savor this thing. Like
Okay.
the last thing I'm going to eat. And as I did it, I thought, holy crap. I'm like, this is what God means when he says he's the Alpha and the Omega. I'm eating this melatonin with a childlike perspective of, what is this? How does this taste? With a wonderment and like just like as an observer with no judgment, no preconceived notions, but at the same time, all the passion as if it was the last breath I was ever going to take, like the last meal I would ever eat. And I'm like, this is how we should live every moment. I get
Absolutely,
it.
sure. Yeah.
And so I was like, I started thinking, I'm like, one way that we really can obtain gratitude is when we're deprived of something. When we don't have anything anymore, that's when we're like, that's when we really realize the value of what it was. And I thought, if I consciously choose to abstain from things once a month, now maybe I don't have to have God teach me that lesson or the universe teach me that lesson. I get to control when my own deprivation.
Right.
To keep the gratitude so that I don't have to learn those hard lessons. I want to learn the lessons on my terms where it's not, that's not, I can not eat for a day.
Yeah.
It's not easy. I'm not going to lie. By the time you're laying in bed at night, it's not easy, but it's like, it gives you just that little different perspective to appreciate your life. So and I just say this stuff because it's just like little things you can try I just call them experiments. I'm like, I'm doing an experiment today.
Yeah, you sound like my buddy BK, Bill Knowles, who's a good friend of mine. He's been doing that lately too. He's found that certain foods don't really sit with him right, so he's tried to go a more, not organic, but more healthy lifestyle as far as eating food, not eating crap, not eating the sugary stuff, and trying to back off from that. And the only time he does that is like for just a treat, which is great. That's what it's for.
Yeah, and it's like, some people might look at it and be like, oh, I like to eat my McDonald's every day and stuff. But for me, whenever I'm eating healthy, it's not even about eating healthy. It's about when my body is functioning physically and I'm not in pain, I'm more joyful. You're getting a better me. My kids are getting a better me.
Yeah.
So I'd rather not eat that donut and eat that organic food because now my stomach doesn't hurt.
Yeah. And your stomach doesn't want those things after you've eliminated them. It's like a foreign body coming in, and they're like, "Oh, what is this? I don't want this anymore."
Yeah.
Anyway, because I think that's one of the things that I need to get more into, and I've tried before, and I've been successful. I had a double lung transplant in 2019.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I had to lose a bunch of weight to get the transplant. And I did, when they told me when they told me it was a transplant or die, which was the first time I'd heard that, I was like, what? I had no idea. I thought it was just going to be on oxygen the rest of my life, but they said, no, you need a transplant or you're going to die. Right. And I said, okay. Well, and they said, but you got to lose 100 and something pounds. And I said, okay, I will. I didn't know.
Good for you.
It was a death, warrant. And so, as soon as that.
Well, you had work to do. Look at what you're doing now. You had some important work to do. So you had to do that.
Well, and I hope that's one of the things this is one of the things that came from that. The MoreJoy, the radio, and of course, to be encouraged, MoreJoy Media with the video and FaceTime stuff. It is been a wonderful thing. I moved into a studio. I got my own studio now, an office, and I'm able to focus on doing this. And the next step is to start monetizing. so I can
Right.
start to, then I can get off the Social Security and all that stuff that I had to be on, to get the transplant and everything, because couldn't work, of course. And
Right.
now with this COVID, I can't work because I'm on immune suppressants. So
Right.
I'm one of those at-risk folks. But, and luckily for me, my relationship with Christ is what has gotten me navigated through a lot of the nastiness. But now I'm getting too comfortable. So I need to be a little less comfortable and say, okay, get back on the wagon and let's, that weight's not good to start adding back onto your life. You need to, shrink it back down again. And I really want to do that. So.
Oh, I love it. I'm so happy that it inspired you to do this, and that you, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people can sit back and be like, well, I can't do anything now. And they'd be all getting bitter and stuff. But it's like, no, hey, now I'm going to live my life with even more purpose. Like,
that's right.
I love it.
Thank you.
I just feel like, for me, I've found that the way I've been motivated to do so many things is, when I didn't have my values identified really clearly, my why wasn't big enough. My why has to be bigger than me,
right,
for me to want to do it.
Yeah.
So now that I see, like, hey, eating good, I go, it's not for me. It's for my kids. It's for the people I interact with, or working out, or
the people you're going to be in touch with, and people whose daily lives you're going to touch. And it's going to make a difference in their lives because you make a difference.
Because I'm functioning fully. Yeah. And now I love myself, so I can love other people. So it's great. Exactly. It's so cool. Love the way it all works.
And that is the cool thing. I mean, once you start loving yourself, you open up the gates to be able to love everybody. And I just know that God loves me, so there's no reason for me not to love me. And it's like the golden rule that every religion has. Mm-hmm. Every religion has the rule where it says, love God and then love yourself as your neighbor.
Yeah.
You can't love everybody else if you don't love yourself. So
and I used to think
you need to love yourself that way.
Well, I think one of the biggest problem is, though, like, I didn't know I didn't love myself. I thought I did.
Right.
And that's where it's so hard, because until you really get to that point, like, people will know when you found it.
Right.
Like, it's a huge difference. Like, you're a totally different person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, I would have said before, if you asked me, do you love yourself? I would have said yes. Now I'm like, gosh, I didn't love myself at all.
Right.
So
what you thought was you were spending more time loving your kids, and you loved them more than you could imagine. And so there wasn't time you didn't feel for you to love yourself, because you wanted to love your kids more than anything in the world. But that's how, kind of I've seen things pan out for me.
Yeah.
But once you realize, I can love them even more.
Yep.
When I start to love myself, and it's not so much, I don't understand. I mean, I don't think about that so much, loving myself. I just, it's kind of gotten into my daily routine, as we talked about with Zig Ziglar again. He just started reading every morning, and it just got better and better, faster.
Yeah, all this stuff has come about by accident. It's just by me. Just had to be that initial spark.
Mm-hmm.
Something in my brain and that's where I go, like, it's so cool to be like, one act of kindness really can change the world, because you never know when that one thing is what's going to flip that little switch in someone else. Like, absolutely. Sorry, I'll get like all emotional here, but
I can tell. It's okay. I love it.
Now you found what I geek out over. So
yeah. No, you never know. It's like the mustard seed. They talk about how you plant the mustard seed, and a mustard tree becomes huge. I mean, it's like from that little teeny pebble. It's like, what in the world? That came from that? I mean, that's crazy. Yep. Well, that's the same as when we plant an idea, or we plant our love in somebody, who doesn't feel like they deserve to be loved by anybody. And you just
Right.
show them that you care about them, you just by just doing, opening a door for somebody. Good morning,
Yeah.
a nice good morning, a smile. In the high schools as a safety and security person before all this happened. I'm never going to be able to go back into the germ factory that I call schools, that most people call schools. But, I just made eye contact with kids and said, good morning. How you doing? What's up? And they saw that I cared about them.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily realize that and occasionally a kid would bring something like that up. I mean, I had a kid who was a real piece of work, and she was always doing stuff that she shouldn't be doing and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't really ever have that much interaction with her, except for one day a teacher asked me to watch his classroom while he went to the restroom. No problem. And of course, the kids started going, man, Mr. Bailey, that guy stinks. He sucks. All that kind of stuff. And I'm like, guys, dude, he's here for you. I mean, honestly,
Right.
because he probably could be doing lots of other things other than this, but he wants to be here and he wants to be here. No, that's not true, Mr. Bailey. I said, these teachers love you guys. And this little girl, Miss Hard Ass, she's not but 17. She already has tattoos all over her body. Her mom and dad don't give a rat about her. She's a pretty little girl and she's very happy, but she's just not happy, I guess. Just angry all the time.
Yeah.
And she says, Mr. Bailey, you're the only one in this school that loves everybody. I'm like, what? And it just took me back. Like I said, that's not true. I know that our principal loves you guys. And, but it really took me back. I'm like going, wow, that girl who my only interaction with has been, taking her from one classroom down to the principal, because she's in trouble and stuff like that.
Right.
And, it just nailed me when she said that. And I had to, shift gears real quick before I became verklempt. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. It's true. I mean, I felt like it was true. I do love everybody, but it wasn't true that I was the only one.
Right.
I mean, there's lots of other people.
But you know what? A lot of people, it's so simple, but honestly, what I found is just like acceptance. That's all people want. And and it's not all of these things. A lot of people, when they start learning some stuff about themselves, that they were like, oh my gosh, I was doing this stuff. And then they're like remorseful or sad or whatever. And like, I was kind of like that in the very beginning, but now I'm like, yes, another thing I can change about myself to be better. And so
to make the world better,
and I'm not mad at myself. And I'm not mad at myself before. Now I laugh at, I look at myself like a child. Like, that's so amusing that I used to think that. It's so dumb. Like, all this stuff is so simple. Like, just within the past couple months, I'm like, oh, if I talk to my kids like I'd want to be talked to, they're more receptive. I mean, you hear all these people out there like, you're not there to be your kid's friend. You're there to be their parent. I don't care if my kids hate me. That's my job to be hated. I'm like, the heck it is. Jesus had disciples. A disciple isn't discipline. It's teaching and guiding.
That's absolutely right. That's right. Because as I've always said, he went and found the 12 dumbest dudes on the earth so that he could show us that if they can do it, you can do it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Did he ever get really angry with them except for not keeping watch? When he went to pray, that's the only time he ever came out and admonished them. Other than that, he just kind of looked at him and said, who do you say I am? And why, like in the boat, they woke him up. We're going to die. What? What do you mean we're going to die?
No, we're not.
Who am I? Who am I? All right, fine. He got up there. All right, calm down. Okay. Can I go back to sleep now? That kind of thing. And, I could I really want to put together a little, like a skit about, the Gospels, but from that point of view. Whereas
it would be really fun to
see Jesus doing this.
Yeah.
You see him sometimes going, "Oh my goodness."
Well, I feel like he would sit there and go, "Silly mortals."
Yeah. No, I'm still convinced. Also, when he had Peter come out, I think he was trying to sneak by them because they had looked out and saw him and said, "Oh, teacher!" And he's like, "Dang it!" I knew he was just like, "Ah!" I was trying to get past them without them seeing me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway,
Well,
I
yeah,
love
and
all
then you
those stories.
wonder.
The stories are great.
But then you wonder why your kid has a temper tantrum when you look at him and go put your boots on like that. Why don't you say, "Hey, go grab your boots. We're going to go out in the snow. I don't want your feet to get wet and that would be cold. So go grab your boots." Wow, it's amazing. My kid listens now.
Yeah.
Gee.
Well, you know why also when we were kids, when you and I were kids, and I know I'm older than you,
that's
but
what we were taught.
When we were kids, they told what they said to do, we did. But
we did it out of fear, not because we wanted to. And that's why.
What did mom used to say to you all the time? Because I said so.
Yeah, and to me,
"Hi, mommy," because I said so.
Yeah. And you know what that does? It creates kids that lie, that sneak around. I wouldn't be surprised if that's how, honestly, if online predators look for kids with super strict parents, because they know they're the kids that are going to be sneaky.
Sure.
They know they're the kids that would hide something from their parents.
And working in the field that I work in, I know for a fact, Lesley, that's exactly what predators are looking for. I work in a field to protect children. I've taken my juvenile justice classes in college, and they're, absolutely that's what they're looking for. They're looking to find that kid who's unhappy and disgruntled with where he is. And one of the things I tell people, security guys also that I work with, I'm like, dude, you can't just tell a kid because you said so.
No.
This generation, you have to explain and give a reason. When they say why, you tell them, this is why, and if you don't know why, then why are you telling them to do it?
Well, well, and the thing is it always reminds me. Did you ever see that movie, The Breakup, with Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn? And they break up and they have to live in the house together still. And there's a scene where she's mad at him because he's like playing video games and she's like wanting him to help her do the dishes. And he's like,
yeah.
Why would I want to do the dishes? Or she goes, I want you to want to do the dishes. And he was like, why would I want to do the dishes? And I always think of that because it's like that's why they say knowledge is power. We're empowering these people to make, or kids to make choices on their own when we're not there and know how to do it, not because we said so or because they're afraid that they're of the consequence, but because they want to make a good choice. They know that they can impact society and the world. Like, I just find it's so awesome. And I'm like, gosh, my kids have to be so happy that I like started going through all this. I'm like completely different parent, I mean, my son will say things to me. I'm like, my 8-year-old, or he's just turned 9. I'll be like, Ryan, I thought we were friends now. Remember we had that conversation where we're friends now? I'm like, that hurts my feelings when you talk to me that way. Whereas before I'd been like, you don't talk to your mom that way. Get in your room. Get out of my face. Like now I'll talk to him like that. And he's like, I'm sorry, Mom.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we also do know, though, child rearing and all that kind of stuff, that by the age of 7 and then older, kids can reason. There's no reasoning with the child before 7 necessarily, unless they're mature beyond their years and all that kind of stuff. Because mine was at 4, I could reason with my daughter. I mean, I could reason with her at 4 years old, and I got it, that kind of thing. But we are at the end of our time, though, unfortunately. Oh. No, I know it just goes fast as crap. Anyway, I'm going to put you on the spot, Lesley. What do you think every Friday here on Be Encouraged?
Yeah, I'm down.
Can you do that?
We've got so much to talk about.
Absolutely. It's fun stuff. I've had such a tremendous time chatting with you today that we could do this every single Friday, and that would be awesome. I'd love to do that. I already have set guys on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but I've been looking, and I've enjoyed so much the last 3 weeks or so, because that's when we start. That's when I kind of revamped the Be Encouraged program. is to have those guys on every single Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the same people, to talk about everything, mostly about encouraging people and bringing joy. And you are set to bring joy in this world. You're already doing it, and that's fantastic. So I'd love to have you on Fridays. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. And maybe we can go get a cup of coffee and a scone sometime.
Yes, I love it.
Well, I'll have to come down in your neck of the woods and
I'll show you around.
Show me around. And I've been in Gainesville before, but not really.
Yeah, but I'll show you around like the insider Gainesville. Well,
we'll do a Going Gainesville show, and I'll come and be on it, and we can show me around.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun, and I thank everybody that watched. I really appreciate you guys supporting Lee. He has an amazing program. Thank you for having me on, and I hope everybody has a joyful day.
Yes, indeed. And we want to say hi to Tora Arsala. Thank you for tuning in, Tora.
Hi.
And he said he sent a little note saying, Lesley, thank you for joining in. And also David Ing, Ben Alvarado, and Kathy Hildebrand were joining us today. So I appreciated that. Well, at least they liked and shared. We had several other people watching, but I'm trying to train the audience to like and share, so we know who's watching.
Yes, I love. No, it's good. It's good.
You know how that goes. You do your own show. You understand how that goes. Yeah. All right, Lesley, thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it. God bless you. And have a beautiful rest of the day and week, and we'll see you Friday.
All right. I'm excited.
All right.
All right. Bye.